Well, 48 hours after President Trump takes out the number one terrorist in the world, that would be Baghdadi, he takes down the number one sanctuary city police superintendent, Eddie Johnson of Chicago. The city of Chicago is hosting the National Police Chiefs Convention. President Donald Trump went to address the group. Eddie Johnson had said earlier that he had no intention of going because he does not share the values of President Trump, in particular when it comes to ICE and the rounding up of illegal aliens. This is a guy who was caught sleeping one off in his car the other day, and the Chicago police have sort of swept that one under the rug, and some other members of the Chicago Police Department don't want it swept under the rug. They want it dealt with. They want Eddie Johnson gone. But this president is unlike any other. Now, had it been a George W. Bush, or heaven forbid, a Mitt Romney, who had been dissed by a police commissioner and then actually had to go to that city, give an address, only for that commissioner not to show up and to have said something, Mitt Romney would have smiled, he'd have given the political wave. He might have even done something really stupid, like say something nice about the guy, even though he wasn't there, just hoping to get some good press and some good headlines. Donald Trump goes in there and tells those police chiefs and the Chicago Police Department exactly what he thinks of Eddie Johnson. And lo and behold, to the liberals and the mainstream media's nightmare, which is why they aren't covering it, he got applause, and a lot of it.
But there is one person that's not here today. We're in Chicago. I said, where is he? I want to talk to him. In fact, more than anyone else, this person should be here because maybe he could learn something. And that's the superintendent of Chicago Police, Eddie Johnson. A few days ago, Johnson said, quote, "The values of the people of Chicago are more important than anything President Trump would have to say." I don't think so, because that's a very insulting statement after all I've done for the police, and I've done more than any other president's ever done for the police. Over 100 years we can prove it, but probably from the beginning. And here's a man that could not bother to show up for a meeting of police chiefs, most respected people in the country, in his hometown, and with the President of the United States. And you know why? It's because he's not doing his job. Last year, 565 people were murdered in Chicago. Since Eddie Johnson has been police chief, more than 1,500 people have been murdered in Chicago, and 13,067 people have been shot. During the first weekend of August 2019, 7 people were murdered and 52 were wounded in 32 shootings in Chicago. And recently they had 78 shootings over a weekend spree and 3 people killed. And Chicago has the toughest gun laws in the United States.
Eddie Johnson not doing the job. Over 1,500 murders since he became the superintendent of police. And how many arrests have gone along with those murders? And it's funny how whenever there's a school shooting or a mass shooting and we want to talk about what needs to be done to the NRA and what needs to be done to the Second Amendment, funny, they never want to talk about Chicago, which does have the strictest gun laws in the country. And then, of course, you have the entire Jussie Smollett and what he did to the Chicago Police Department, and then the fact that they dropped the charges against him. And Eddie Johnson acted like he was angry and upset, yet did nothing.
Then you have the case of this wise guy, Jesse Smollett, who beat up himself. And he said MAGA country did it, MAGA country. Okay? He said MAGA, that's a hate crime. That's a hate crime. And it's a scam. It's a real big scam, just like the impeachment of your president is a scam.
You gotta wonder what Nancy Botox Pelosi and Adam Schiff for brains when they see that little sound clip, when they see that little news bite, and the president refers to lying Smollett as a scam, just like the phony impeachment scam, and all those police chiefs and police lieutenants and career police applauding and cheering the president.
Chicago is unfortunately the worst sanctuary city in America. Chicago protects criminals at a level few could even imagine. Last year in Cook County alone, ICE asked local law enforcement people to please, pretty please, we beg you, we'll do anything necessary to stop crime. We want to stop crime. Please detain 1,162 people, please. But in each case, the detainer was denied. And Eddie Johnson wants to talk about values. No. People like Johnson put criminals and illegal aliens before the citizens of Chicago. And those are his values. And frankly, those values to me are a disgrace. I will never put the needs of illegal criminals before I put the needs of law-abiding citizens. It's very simple to me.
Once again, in vintage Trump style, Eddie Johnson, you're a friend of criminals. You know, Eddie, if you had just kept your big mouth shut, even if you hadn't shown up, President Trump would have gone there. He would have given some hoorah speech, you know, that he loves police. He's been the most pro-police president ever, and that's true. And even Democrats that I know that serve in police departments admit President Trump has been a breath of fresh air to the Fraternal Order of Police. He really does have their back. He would have gone in there, he would have done the ceremonial, you know, pep rally kind of speech, had a lot of pictures taken with police leadership from across the country, gotten back on Air Force One and left. But no, you had to make a couple of headlines. You had to get your name and your picture out there by saying you don't share his values. And now he is dismantling you in your own city, calling you a friend of criminals.
565 people were murdered last year. And it's a shame. And I want Eddie Johnson to change his values and change them fast.
Boom. And there it is. Hey, thanks so much for watching this video. Make sure you give it a thumbs up and a like. Please subscribe to the channel if you haven't done so already. If you are a subscriber, thank you. Make sure you have smacked the bell for my next rant.